So the other day, I was having a good think about some other potential classes that we could see in Warhammer 40k Darktide down the line. And I gotta admit, while the idea of a tech priest joining the squad would be phenomenal, because I'd love to see the interactions between our favourite toaster boys and the rest of the crew, I also happen to admit that a Ratling sniper would also make for a very interesting character to have with the rest of the squad. So today, I thought I would actually go through a couple of things on why this might be possible, and also how it may work gameplay wise given what we know about them in the lore, and also what makes sense in terms of the gameplay flow of Darktide. This, of course, is my own speculation and theory. There's honestly nothing here in the game that confirms this in any kind of a rumor, but there are some aspects of Darktide that we actually know very little about. So this is one of those things that I just wanted to put out there as my own opinion and see what the rest of the people in the Warhammer community thought about it. This is once again styled similarly to my previous videos, where even if you are new to the franchise, I'll try and explain a few things as we go to help make sure that things make sense. I don't want to be a broken record or anything, but I still want to make sure that people who are new to the franchise can still enjoy these videos. So, to start off with, what the hell is a Ratling for anyone who doesn't know? Well, in Warhammer 40k, humans have spread across the universe for many thousands of years, and sometimes they settle on planets that have very different conditions. So over thousands of years, we actually saw these various groups of humans evolve in different ways to suit the needs of their planet. They are still considered human, and they are still part of the Imperium of Man, but they are called abhumans. They are very clearly different in many ways from your everyday Imperial citizen. I guess one of the easier ways to explain this is that there are different subspecies of the human race itself in Warhammer 40k. Even though in this universe, and I guess overall, humanity is very racist, and they usually will just kill anything that they don't like, in this case, they actually let it slide because they feel as if they can get more use out of these different races. So things like the Ogrins and the Ratlings are different races, technically, in a way, but they're human enough for them to say, it's okay, we're on the same side, as long as we can use you in the Astra Militarum to continue to fight in the meat grinder that is the Warhammer 40k universe. The Ogrin is another good example of an abhuman that we have already seen in Darktide. These big fellas are really interesting for the Imperium to use, because they are strong, built like a fridge, but they're dumb as bricks, so they use them for the muscle, and it's a similar sort of idea with Ratlings. So to answer the long-winded question, what is a Ratling? They are humans that have become smaller in size and muscle mass. They are, generally speaking, very akin to a hobbit from Lord of the Rings. Once you understand that, I feel like that gives you a very good idea of what a Ratling is like. They're small, they're weak, they are not the kind of troops that you send at the front lines with a shovel, but they can be very useful in other ways, like a scout, a sniper, which they are incredibly good crack shots at as well. Their attitudes are very different to hobbits though, that they're not the mild-mannered type. They're very vulgar, they talk a lot of shit, they're mischievous. If someone pisses them off, then they're gonna steal their ammo, but not really for the Ratlings to use, it's more so just to screw with the other guy. They also have a really sneaky way of fighting sometimes. because what they'll do is use their sniper rifles to take out a bunch of enemies. They will basically get shit tons of attention drawn to them and then sneak away to a better position where they can then ambush the enemy. Now, if you take that and combine it with some of the abilities that we've seen in past Vermintide games, I think you could actually have a very interesting class on your hands. This actually translates in a very interesting way into Darktide, because their characteristics are the exact opposite of some of the characters we have so far. Now, something that a lot of people noticed straight away with the beta was that we don't have a dedicated sniper rifle or a long-range class. I mean, I'll give you this. The Veteran and the Psyker are medium range, and they can be used to take out enemies at a distance pretty nicely, but it's not something that you can do all of the time, and it's not something that is rewarded to you for playing that way. The Ogryn and the Preacher, the game is geared towards making these characters be up close and at the front. We can see this with their abilities. The Preacher gets extra toughness for charging into the fight, and the Ogryn is able to just absolutely roll through enemies, and he also doesn't flinch when he's reviving someone. So these are both classes that are made for being up close to a point where you can smell the nasty ass breath of the enemy, and I think that it would be great to have a class that mixes this up and goes the other end of the spectrum, one where you can use to take out high value targets and elite enemies, and kind of being a bit closer to the more shooting and FPS style of players. So how could Fatshark actually go about making this happen? Well, to be honest, I think they'd actually do this pretty easily, because they've done something similar when they made the dwarf character in the Vermintide games, Bardin. This was a dwarf who had smaller proportions, and they were able to absolutely nail it. So I think that they would be treading on familiar ground, stuff that they've done before and can put together without too much trouble. Now, how would this character work in terms of the abilities and the stats behind them? Well, typically, Ratlings are really small and weak, so having stats that reflect that would be very good. Something like 100 health and 100 toughness, so even weaker than the Psyker. But obviously not to a point where it's unbalanced. You don't want to make a character that can't even take a hit. You need to be able to have a high risk, high reward. So if you expose yourself too much, you're gonna get absolutely slapped. But if you position yourself nicely, you're gonna be able to dish out tons of damage, do great work to help your team out, and be able to steal a lot of those very big kills that people are really fighting for. So I think that would end up being a pretty nice way to balance the game in around a Ratling character. And as far as the ability goes, you could just tie this in perfectly with the lore given their ability to sneak around enemies. So you could have it where they can copy and paste Vermintide's ability for Bardin. His ability is really cool because it allows you to drop a smoke bomb and become temporarily invisible to all enemies inside of it, and this is great for helping you out in tough situations and stay alive, and it can also be used to dish out tons of damage. You can use your ranged weapon and just pop off a bunch of shots, or you can take out your melee weapon and start hacking at people's knees. We've already seen this same ability in Vermintide, so just copying and pasting it onto a Darktide character would be pretty straightforward to do, and they know how to balance it properly as well because they already have experience dealing with it from previous games. So I believe that this would be a great move to make things feel powerful for the character, but also balanced and lore accurate. I could also see a ton of fun being had between the characters, like just character interactions make this game so fun and interesting in the background, and I think that that would be great to see as well, with like a Ratling and an Ogryn kind of arguing Or maybe other characters joking around because the Ratling's sword is the equivalent of a butter knife for every other character. I also think that the character interactions with a Ratling would be absolute gold. Like, it would be priceless to see how much fun the voice actors could have with it all, especially because it makes sense that a Ratling could be a reject, a prisoner, because of their talking too much shit, really. I can see a Ratling's mouth getting them into a lot of trouble by bad-mouthing someone who's too powerful. If you really want to put your tinfoil hat on, then you could think that the references that a lot of the other characters make to wanting a Ratling sniper with them is a potential hint that Fat Shark is considering it, but it's obscure. So I think, overall, that a Ratling class would be an amazing fit for Darktide. It would really just tick so many different boxes. You've got a different style of gameplay, more weapons that you can add on, more character interactions. It makes sense with the lore and the rest of the universe. It just slots in perfectly, and it's not too powerful of a character that you wouldn't see joining the other rejects. So that's pretty much my thoughts about how that could work for the upcoming Darktide game, but I would really love to see what you all think in the comment section down below. I mean, do you guys think that this is even possible, or would you rather see something else as a new class for the game? Let me know down below, and if you did enjoy the video, then obviously you know what to do. But that's about it from me. I've been Kiv, and I'll see you all on the next one.